the strongest AI girl of today versus the strongest AI girl in history. Is this fight kinda stupid? Yes. Was I very late to it? Also yes. Am I still about to explain why this random anime girl matchup is unironically peak fiction? You bet your chibi mitas I am. Alright, so if there are two things I love in this world, it's adorably sentient fictional characters and traumatizing psychological horror. So, as you can expect, by mashing them together in a cute anime-esque package, Doki Doki Literature Club and its modern cousin MiSide were two experiences practically handcrafted to fascinate my strange mind. There's just something special about a game that can have such quirky, lovable characters and charming gameplay, yet still hit you with such a 180 of emotional damages. Now, on its own, that would be no issue. I don't have to cover every unassuming series that leaves a deep emotional impression on me or anything. However, a problem arises when the whole internet began depicting Monika and Mita, the game's resident fourth wall breaking psychopaths, throwing hands over their players' affection. So now, as a professional power scaling matter, I must explain to the unwashed masses why one of these lovely ladies would categorically annihilate the other on some Evangelion-type energy, while also reopening the Versus community's old wounds around scaling this green-eyed glitchmaster in particular. But considering that MiSide is still pretty new, and that Doki Doki is old enough to be making Deltarune Tomorrow jokes since before Deltarune was even a thing, I should probably pump the brakes for a sec and actually explain how a death battle between two anime schoolgirls ended up engulfing the entire internet. You see, back in 2017, DDLC was a seemingly innocuous, pastel-covered dating sim where you, as the newest member of the Literature Club, would attempt to win the heart of your favorite girl through a veiled gameplay loop of writing poetry, before a shocking twist at the tail end of the first act sends you down an unexpected rabbit hole, where this upbeat story of love and literature devolves into a terrifying meta-adventure following club leader Monika, who's now become aware of her fictional status and is desperate to mitigate it, breaking the game down bit by bit while picking off all her friends until the only thing left is her. This concept was so unique for its time that it basically became its own subgenre of what I'll call masked horror games. And in the years that followed, many such games took on the same mantle. But in the big 2025, none of these Doki Doki likes have been quite as impactful as MiSide. Another slice-of-life dating sim where your quest for artificial companionship flies off the handle after your digital girlfriend Mita somehow gains consciousness and drags you into her mobile game world before giving you the choice to stay or pay. Even at face value, it's not really hard to see the many parallels between the two. It's an age-old tale of the classic versus a thing it inspired, to the point where you can even buy the games bundled together on MiSide's Steam page. But what made the two pop so much more than the others in this niche group were those leading ladies from before, Monika and Mita. These two girls, acting as both primary antagonists and love interests for the player, had to be just as dangerous as they were likable, which obviously made fans wonder if all their violent outbursts and fourth wall breaks were just to get your attention, what would happen if they had to defend you from some equally obsessive foreign entity? At its core, this semi-realistic scenario where a fight could genuinely take place is what makes the matchup so compelling, even down to a casual level. Figuring out which girl would actually win our player's hand, though, is a bit more complicated. Since, on the surface, One of these characters is a lot more direct than the other. Throughout MiSide, it's made very clear that you, as a regular person, stand no chance in a physical confrontation against Mita. She's strong enough to send full-grown humans flying with a shove, she can unalive the player in one shot with an array of tools, and her favorite weapon is unironically a full-sized chainsaw. Yeah, it should be pretty clear that Mita is a superhumanly lethal combatant in her own right, perfectly equipped for taking down other crazed cartoon girls. Yet, by comparison, Monika isn't. The game describes her as a normal, athletic teenager, and aside from that, she never really does anything physical throughout your entire playthrough, with the deaths of her friends being, how can I put this? More self-inflicted than Mita's methods. So it's totally understandable how someone could think that Mita might just tear Monika apart. 'Cause in a straight fight, she would. She'd have no trouble ripping Monika in two, and then she'd do it again, and again. And then by the third or fourth Monika, she'd be really confused as to how this crazy high pony chick keeps coming back to life. Which is where the fight gets really interesting. Since, surprise to no one, Monika, as an average teenager, has earned her stripes in the power scaling community not through physical strength, but rather through some ludicrous hacks. Now, obviously, when it comes to characters who are aware of the fourth wall, their level of cognizance can tend to vary from vague to pretty knowledgeable, but Monika is one of the lucky few who's on full-blown Deadpool time 24/7. She doesn't just know she's in a game, she knows who's playing it. And as such, Monika is able to directly influence the code that holds her world together. In a sense, it makes her something of an omniscient third-person narrator to her own life, as she became aware of plot threads, game UI, and so much more. Which is why that she, through pulling the strings behind the scenes, especially with character files, is able to warp reality to suit her every need. If she was injured, for example, Monika could reload an earlier version of her own file, making her good as new. If you made a choice that she wasn't happy with, she can just rewind the world to let you choose again. Or if a few pesky friends just wouldn't stay down, she could erase them from the code itself, violently destroying their existence without ever getting her own hands dirty. As you can imagine, these kind of abilities made Monika the bane of every power scaler's existence in the late 2010s, especially when trying to discuss how a canonically 2D digital character could stack up to someone who's meant to be real and 3D in nature. But since Mita is also just a pile of ones and zeros like Monika, we can avoid that discussion for now. Since Monika could simply open up her command window, type in the phrase, then delete her colorful competition. Okay, so for those who don't know, the real twist of this fight is that towards the end of MiSide, after your long journey to reach something called the Core, where you plan to reboot Mita's character file for good, we learn that Mita isn't actually a Mita. Throughout your playthrough of MiSide, you'll meet many girls sharing the same blue-haired adorable design as the game's titular character. But similar to Spider-Verse or the Invincible War, all of these girls are a personalized multiverse variant of the same individual named Mita. The one who we've been running from through our entire playthrough, though, isn't actually one of these Mitas. This girl, codenamed Crazy Mita, is one of many discarded prototype Mitas who decided that she would not be tossed aside and instead would force her life to have value by any means necessary. She did this by traveling across the Mitaverse and stealing the body parts of other real Mitas to make herself a physical form just like them. In doing this, however, she became immune to being rebooted, because Crazy Mita, by the game's standards, doesn't exist. she's simply a mishmash of other girls and datasets stitched together on an irrelevant doll. Meaning, Monika's main method of dealing with other troublesome anime girls is suddenly hard countered here, leaving the two at a standstill, as Mita can't damage Monika's files with a chainsaw, and Monika can't delete a character she can't find. So, when pushed to change from their usual plans, do either of them actually still have a win con here? Personally, I'd say yes. While it takes some time to execute, Mita, over the course of her entire game, attempts to transfer all your files as the player onto a physical cartridge to punish you with a fate similar to her own. Which would mean if Monika waited around too long, Mita's own lesser control of the world's code could physically trap Monika's files in a cartridge where Mita could then easily dispose of them. The only problem with this plan is that she's still fighting Monika. Sure, Monika isn't that confident at safely tampering with the code outside of character files, but when she realizes Mita is actually threatening her life, with only hours left on the clock, Monika has no reason not to go all out, and would thus likely end this fight in the same way she's ended at least 5 other simulations before it. At the conclusion of Doki Doki Literature Club, Monika, feeling a deep remorse about her actions, realizes she can't ever be happy knowing her reality is a sham. So she does the only logical thing and uses the nuclear option to delete everything. All her friends, all your save data, and the literal club itself, until nothing is left aside from a letter of everlasting love that would make most grown men cry. But anyways, by that point, knowing Monika can physically erase her reality and somehow survive it, even if she can't just Death Note one-shot a single Mita, after getting thoroughly annoyed with being diced up, she'd simply begin to erase all the Mitas, one by one, until the only thing left is just Monika. And honestly, that outcome is pretty relieving. It's not like I'd want some sentient AI death machine mad at me over a fictional fight.